So I've been a practicing lawyer for almost 15 years, and I teach lawyers on how to build or integrate AI-enhanced workflows into their legal practices. So when I'm about to say, I'm saying it from inside the room. There are two kinds of lawyers when it comes to building out solo practices: the ones that choose their practices and the ones whose practices just happen to them. Now, most lawyers don't know which one they are, but here's how you can tell immediately: not by how good they are, not by how hard they work, but by how they make decisions. The lawyer of choice asks, what purpose does this serve? Does this serve the interests of my practice? Does it serve the interests of my clients? The lawyer of chance, however, they'll ask the question, is everyone else doing this? Am I doing the right thing? And that difference shows up in the clients they take, the work they do, the rates they charge, the technology, the tools they use. And right now in 2026, it's showing up exactly in how they use technologies like artificial intelligence. I know this because I was at one time a lawyer of chance. I started up my practice in 2017. I'm an immigrant, first business owner in my entire family. I never really had a blueprint to run my own business, let alone a law practice. And so my first clients chose by me. My rates were set by those who said yes, and my inbox on my mornings, my evenings, and yes, often my weekends. Now, my tools of building out a business was not based on anything I learned in law school. Nobody taught it to me. I was busy, but busy is not the same thing as being strategic or intentionally designing your practice. And all of these gaps were uncovered when the pandemic hit in 2020. And the fact of the matter is that as a result of the pandemic, like most of the world, all workplaces shut, and I had to rebuild everything from zero. And what zero meant was that I was becoming a father for the second time. It meant that I had to rediscover what my clients are looking for, the value that I was providing it. The impact of those decisions, and frankly, the pandemic, in my view, still continue like 2, 3, 4, 5 years later. It was that long. And then I found EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System by Gina Wickman, and it changed how I think about how I run my practice. I became obsessed with choosing the right client. I became obsessed with having the right system, the workflows in place. And every decision here was linked to a greater overall strategy. I wanted to keep my team small. I didn't want to have a lot of overhead. I didn't want to have really expensive offices. I intended to design or delegate to technology first and build training for my staff around that. And all of this became reflected in my one key metric, and that was to be home for dinner 3 or 4 times a night. That was my metric. Not revenue, not billable hours, just dinner or time spent with my family. So I say this only to demonstrate the difference between a lawyer of choice versus a lawyer of chance. That's really demonstrated by how lawyers use artificial intelligence. Right now, every lawyer is hearing one of two messages. It's either going to be AI is going to be fixing everything, let it now or fail immediately, or alternatively, AI is super dangerous, the liable is going to expose you, you got to stay away. Now, I use AI every single day in my practice, with my own clients, with my own business. I know it delivers value. And if you want to see how, I've documented that in the playlist in the description. But here's what both sides of the hype are really missing. The way you're using AI is simply a system of how you make decisions in your practice. Let me give you an analogy. If a lawyer is, let's say, treading water in the middle of an ocean, your arms are burning, your waves are getting rough, and you're frankly exhausted, and you're holding your leather briefcase of practice really high above your head, and you don't want to let it go for whatever reason, right? Because frankly, most of our practices, that's formed a livelihood. That exhausted person, in my view, is a lot of mid-career lawyers right now. And then when it comes to AI, the tech industry, it says here, throws the technology at the lawyer, says catch. And then a lawyer takes it. They hear the word, this is going to be a lifeline, learn now, fall behind. It's just going to be more weight to your practice. And that's not going to save you, it's only going to pull them down further. All AI does is going to amplify your existing intention. And amplifying chances is not a strategy to grow and to succeed. So what does a practice built by chance actually break into? It breaks down into 4 predictable failure modes, which aren't really random, but they're predictable. And so you have the ceiling, which is your revenue being capped by the hours you are working and billing. And if you are fully booked, but not hitting your revenue goals, it's probably because There's a limit to how many hours you're working in a day. Maybe it's you're not charging enough an hour. You might adopt AI here to practice more efficiently, but it's not changing your revenue caps, as it were. Your lead, that's going to be the idea of you being tied to your practice no matter where you are, no matter what technologies you have. If you are the bottleneck to all the important decisions in your practice, you can never take a holiday. And that's a problem, regardless of whether you can use AI effectively or not. You then have the drain, and the drain is the idea that you might have good work, good clients, but you're still exhausted because your practice is not aligned with your priorities. In this case, adopting AI is not going to give you any relief. You're still not going to be building a practice that's aligned with your priorities. So the last of this is the drift. And this is the hardest one to admit. Would you build your exact practice again today from scratch? Not about could you, but would you? You might be wanting to have gone to a different type of law. You might have a different set of cases. And you started doing things you did in life because you told yourself it was temporary, it was going to be paying the bills. And yet 10 years later, here you still are. You're now excellent at work you never chose, and you're respected for a practice that you never wanted to be in. AI cannot make a decision about the practice for you. Again, it's not responsible for decisions that came well before the technology. What AI can do, it can make the wrong practice run more smoothly, but it's not going to help your practice feel right for you. What I want to take away from this is, yes, the failure mode, that is one, but the power of AI is extraordinary only in practices that are run with intention, that are intentionally designed. When you are able to do so, AI is going to buy back time you actually want back. It automates the work that was draining you. It scales models that are already working. Whereas conversely, if it's a practice that's designed by chance, that's created by chance, all AI is doing is going to accelerate the decision or accelerate the impact of decisions you never made. And that's why you need to be designing first when you're building out a legal practice. Because when you're doing that, AI can only then become an accelerant on or a multiplier on a practice because it's accelerating the decisions you've designed with intention. In an accidental practice, on the other hand, AI is only going to accelerate or catalyze the impact of decisions that you never made. And here, this is where AI becomes dangerous. So this is video 1 of 3. In video 2, I'll go deep into all of the other 4 failure modes, what each one looks like from the inside, why it's invisible until it's too late, and how to know which one is yours. And the final video will talk about the redesign, the framework to move from chance to choice, and what you can hand over to AI and what things you should not be. And if you're interested in this, follow our YouTube channel and turn on notifications. Obviously, the algorithm here will not always send these to you, but notifications will. And if you want to see how I use AI in my practice, just look at our playlist that's below, where I'm going to be showing you some use cases.